Arnold about the same size, because he was young. He was little when he was born. Didn't weigh
Right.
4 pounds.
Right.
And I was big, and so big as he was when I was born. He just, you know, they took warm bricks on the stove and wrap them up in a towel. They put them around and keep him warm in the wintertime in the bed. You know? What was I going to tell you?
Tell them about going to Paul Stroud's house, you and Arnold, and sleeping with your cousins.
Yeah,
Their sons, they coming back.
We could spend the night with Paul Stroud's boys, you know.
Was the same age
One
as him.
was about the
Granted,
same old as I was. Me and Gene and Jeffy. Jeffy was grown, and him and Gene slept together. When I go over there, and I didn't have nowhere to sleep, except sleep in the bed with them, between them, and they both had the itch. We'd always get that what they call same-year itch.
bed bugs is what
And
it was.
it was same-year itch, because we come back home and had all that breaking out on us, you know. And the old man lived about 2 miles across the front of where we lived, across the creek. His house caught on fire. And Mom had took some lard and some sulfur and melted it together, and she put that crap, maybe on, get naked, and she put that stuff all over us, that lard and that sulfur. That's supposed to dry the itch up, you know. We had it all over us, all over the neck, the face. And she wouldn't let us sleep in the bed at night.
Because your bed bugs was
It won't be a bug.
lice, or whatever going on.
Yeah.
So
Headlights, what it was.
she wouldn't let us sleep on the bed that night. It was in the summertime, it's hot, you know. And so we went to the biker barn and got some burlap sheets Mama had made to put in the biker. And that's what we had to sleep on, with that grease on us, you know. Right naked on the floor on a burlap sheet, you know. The man's house had caught on fire, so this guy came by and said, "Someone's house on fire." I said, "Let's go in and see who it is." So Mom and Daddy got in the car and went with him, left me and Arnold home, we were naked. We lay in there with the door looking where the fire was at, you know. And they went over there, and we had a bunch of cousins that lived in Kinston. And they come to Grandma Sutton's every summer to help them put in the biker, and they bring the lice down there. So we get lice every year and itch every year. Just
Headlights.
you know.
Right. Yeah.
We kept our lice, the leech all the time. And I got the lice one time, and I said, "Well, I'm going to do something about it." So I got me some kerosene, wet my whole head with kerosene. Didn't know to mess with kill you, go in your brain and kill you, you know. So I took a rag and wrapped my head up in it, let it stay in that kerosene. It was burning me up on my skin, you know, and had it wrapped up. And I finally took it off about 2 or 3 hours later, and them lice had got what it's trying to get out between that rag, you know. They were stuck all in that rag dead, were trying to get some breath, and I put that kerosene on, you know. I took one thing, it took care of them. It killed them lice, but
Yeah,
my head was right red like
I
a
bet
blister.
it was, yeah.
Uncle Al told one time
Yeah.
that they get the itch, and Granny had a barrel. He would put kerosene and what was the kerosene, creosote, there was 3 things in that barrel, and that's what he would dip his dogs in for fleas and ticks. And he went over to Granddaddy Stroud's house, and he came back and he had the itch. He'd been sleeping between Uncle Gene and them. He said every time he'd go over to Uncle Gene's house, Uncle Gene would poot on him. He would fart on him and put his head under the covers. So he wouldn't stay. He always would try to come home before the next morning, you know. And so he got back home, and he said he was digging. He had it all up between his legs and stuff. He said, "Grandmama come in there and told me to take all your clothes off." And she went out there and put him in that dog barrel where they dipped the dogs, and put him in, said, head right on underneath it, and pulled him out, and said, and they finally got all that, whatever he got, or he killed whatever it was. He said they had burned his tail up, put him in there, you know, because he had been scratched all between his legs, under his arm, around his neck, you know. He said it burned him up in that dog. Mange medicine, well, they did it for mange.
We had a new ground new ground was different from the other farms where, you know, there was about a quarter of a mile between another farm, between where we was at, where we lived and where the new ground was. So Daddy had planted corn in the new ground that year, and me and Arnold was all the time into something, so he went out and shelled a bunch of corn in a bucket. Told us to go out there and get 2 of them hoes and go over there and transplant that corn. Some of the corn hadn't come up, you know. And we went over there and was transplanting that corn. It was hot, barefoot, and we dig a little hole with a hoe and drop some corn in there and wrap it up and go over there. So we got tired of doing that, you know. And Daddy had about that much corn in that 5-quart bucket. He's where he shelled first. The good corn to replant the corn with, you know.
Hard work shelling it.
So we went over there and we got tired. So Arnold said, I know how we can get done real quick. I said, how? He said, he dug a hole, and we was right side the road, he dug a hole in the ground and said, pour that corn in here. And I poured the corn in and he wrapped it up. Went back to the house, told Daddy we used all the corn up, but Daddy knew we was telling a lie. And about a week later, here come all that corn up.
Oh, boy.
Before we buried it in the ground. Arnold done it, he's the one suggested doing that. Daddy knew we hadn't used all that corn up, planting that corn. But he didn't say nothing until he saw that corn coming up, and he knew exactly what we'd done. He knew what we'd done to stop.
Right.
If we'd had any sense, we'd have thrown it out in the woods, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Tell them a story about Paul Stroud getting thirsty and they Pearl in the bed that night.
Huh?
Tell them about Paul Stroud drinking and he got thirsty that night.
It won't Paul Stroud. Paul Stroud had a brother.
Oh, yes, that's right.
His name was Captain. They called him Captain, but his name was Oscar.
Oscar, that's right.
They called him. And Mama, he had a daughter and a son. Captain did. And Captain drank a lot of liquor. And he come home and he had a boy named Bruce. And had a girl, I forgot what her name was. Mama liked the girl, so she'd go and spend the night with them, you know. And what they do back then, everybody heated a house with a fireplace. And they had what they call a skillet. That was a thing about that big around, had a handle on it with 3 legs that you put down in the fireplace and heat the water. And everybody washed their feet in that same skillet every night before they went to bed. They washed the water that was warm, you know. And they'd leave the skillet on the fireplace, about the fireplace there.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain had been out, got drunk that night, and when you wake up, you're real thirsty because you've been drunk, you know. And he'd make Bruce get up and get him some water. So that night,